hell do you say when you work in GIS? Well, it's kind of like Google Earth. Our next speaker is Mark Carniello. He's going to talk about it's kind of like Google Earth. Mark Carniello.
Thanks, Steve. And one down the back there, also making the noise before, so keep it down. So yes, as Steve said, when people ask us what do we say, oh, it's sort of like Google Earth, you know, exciting stuff, really cool, and they sort of have the impression that, well, that's sort of what we do, right? Unfortunately, many times, nothing can be further from the truth. And I'm sure everyone in this room has their own example of this slide here. It's really bad. I did the green background, nice, eh? So, you know, we're really good at GIS, but really bad at user interfaces. And this is a bit of a story on that. The first application that really excited me was back in like late 80s, Excel 1.0. Woo, cool. It was so powerful, it had awesome user interface. I remember being so excited about being able to add all these numbers up and do little graphs and just discover the application on my own without reading the help file. It was fantastic. So I went home that night and I said to my dad, hey, I just learned about this spreadsheet thing called Excel. It's fantastic. You can do all this stuff with it. And Dad went, yeah, spreadsheets. We have them at work. Serious stuff. We have Lotus Symphony. It's much more powerful than Excel. Yeah, it's not much very exciting either, Dad, but it's probably more powerful. And in the GIS industry as well, we have had lots of really powerful applications that have been really exciting to geeks like you guys and myself, but very unexciting to the uninitiated. I couldn't find an old screenshot, but you know what I'm talking about. So I guess the question is, where do we go from the command prompt? Well, in the mid-90s, R2.2 came along. It was fantastic. And finally, we could produce nice, colourful maps. We didn't have to be GIS experts. We could actually just click on some buttons and make some maps. We could make really ugly maps as well. It's great at that too. But at least had some buttons and a user interface that were reasonably easy to understand. We could also produce WYSIWYG maps when we see the page on the computer screen, and we could then print it out on our new inkjet A3 plotters. Whoa. And as an aside, mobile phone coverage in Eastern Europe was better back then than it is today in North America, but that's another thing. So that was R3, still cost a lot of money, made extra lot of money as well. Then came Google Earth. Wow, now it was free, and it had awesome data content for the whole world. Wow. And it was very simple to use, very sleek, very attractive, and that's why I guess we all say, I do stuff like Google Earth. Unfortunately, as I said, leaders don't. This was on the desktop side of things. Of course, in parallel, we had the evolution of the web GIS, which was even more of a car wreck than the desktop GIS, because now all of us, Chris, Tweedy, myself, can start designing great websites. 1993, the Xerox guys at Palo Alto, proof of concept web mapping. This is what could be done on the web. We could produce maps. You could zoom in, zoom out, pan around. Well, I'd say for the next decade, from 1993 onwards, we didn't really evolve much from that concept, unfortunately. Hey, this was a research project, a proof of concept, not the way we should do it. But we packed all the things we think you could do. Hey, I can actually do a select circle on a map. Who cares? Well, it's cool. And early this decade, this here, which is MapQuest, was seen as like standard look and feel for web mapping. It was accepted. That's sort of the way you do it. You've got, you move around, you zoom in, zoom out, you've got some boxes and stuff on the page. You wait for a long time for it to come back. Tom calls it, you know, click and wait. Well, then came Google Maps. Wow. The Google guys showed us GIS people again on the web how to actually get things right, user interface. The question is why? Well, I think generally because we're GIS geeks, we're not user interface experts. A lot of you will say, well, we've got lots of data, it's complicated stuff. Not really. These guys have huge amounts of data in Google Maps, but they spend a lot of time thinking about user experience and how people can interact with it, how's my mother can actually get it. And we don't do that. So now these guys keep adding new data into the website. A lot of the data they are actually adding now, like real estate, for example, is already there on other websites. But because they do such a good job of thinking about how the users interact with the data, people use their website instead of ours. So I guess my challenge to everyone in the room here is, let's sort of take that initiative back and create some exciting stuff from Western Australia in the GIS web space that excites people and you're actually proud of saying, hey, I was behind that thing, like Google Maps, for example. Because if we don't do that, in the end, we might as well just give them our data and leave it to them. like the transfer guys in Perth have done, we've actually given Google all the timetable information, and people like myself will now just use Google Maps instead to actually look up the timetables for trains in Perth and not look at their static website. So it's up to you. Innovate, or just, if you can't beat them, I guess just join them. So I'm a bit ahead of my slides, but I'm the last presenter. I've had a few years, so I guess it's okay. So there you go. I guess the transfer timetable showing Google Maps. I guess it's the slide saying whether you can't beat them, join them. Thanks a lot, guys.